Welcome to the Marketing Automation Moment podcast. I'm Hannah Kelly.
And I'm Mike Maynard. This is Napier's podcast to tell you about the latest news from the world of marketing automation.
Well, hi, Mike. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Automation Moment. How are you doing?
Hi, Hannah. Great to talk to you again.
Well, you are doing me the biggest favour right now, Mike, because I know it's nice weather and I think I've had to literally drag you away from the cricket for you to be here today.
Well, clearly cricket is way more important than any sort of thing to do with marketing automation. No, it's not. I'm really excited to be with you. And we've got some good things to talk about on marketing automation. So looking forward to it.
Definitely. Well, let's kick off. And I think you're going to have some opinions about the things we talk about today. Not that you never have opinions, but I came across a really good article from Martech, and I think it was really interesting because it talks about how, AI is reshaping marketing. We've read 100 articles on how great AI is, but the real crux of this article was actually, but is it? Is it actually reshaping marketing? Because if you actually dive down, AI is great in doing that basic stuff, but it actually can't do that strategy and that planning that marketers are needed for in order for it to be successful. I don't know. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I think anyone who's actually tried using AI is going to be completely unsurprised by this, probably. If you look at AI, you can ask it to generate marketing strategies and marketing campaigns, and they're all very generic. You may as well just Google 10 steps to creating a marketing campaign and go read an article, because that's effectively what's happening. It's pulling generic content from the website. So the fact that AI is good for some implementation, but really hasn't yet got there on the strategy, I personally didn't think it was much of a surprise.
No, I totally agree. I think for me, though, it was nice just to see a bit of honesty. We see so much hyped nonsense, I guess, kind of in the press, in the media about how amazing it is, that it's nice to have a bump down to realities once in a while.
You're absolutely right. I think, in AI, everything's focused around, isn't it amazing? It's going to change the world. The robots are here to take over, which, to be fair, if the robots get a lot smarter, may be a great move to start being overly nice to them now. But I think, realistically in MarTech, people struggle. We've done a lot of experimentation on AI, haven't we, Hannah? And if you look at it, even generating, small phrases within an email, you can actually end up with AI generating content that you look at and go, really don't want that going out. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. We had a conversation earlier this week and we were really excited. We were like, yes, this is going to make our campaign so much easier. It's going to save us so much time. Use ChatGPT to really pull in this information. And we were really simple as well. We were just focusing on markets and target users. And actually, the data it pulled through was terrible. And I would never send an email out with that data. So we were actually really disappointed that it wasn't going to change my world at the moment.
No, well, it looks like you've got a job for the next week at least, Hannah. I thought the other funny thing, though, was if you look at the report that you pulled out from Martech, the research said that marketing teams say that it's increasing productivity by 44%, which they equated to saving 11 hours. Now, I'm a bit of a maths geek. I want to know what's happening, because that means that basically 25 hours were productive for marketers. What were marketers doing the other 15 hours that clearly were completely unproductive? Otherwise, those numbers don't add up.
No, I completely agree. I read it and thought, well, I think I'm working too hard if that's the case. Well, let's move on, Mike. One of the other things that we came across, and this is a little bit different because we had a bit of a chat about this and whether we wanted to include it, but Adobe has basically come out and provided an update for its digital experience segment. Now, I had a little argument with you and I was like, I'm not sure that we can count Adobe as a marketing automation platform. And you slightly disagreed. But I think it was interesting because they're focusing on customer experience. So they're combining the creativity, data, and AI. And then their real marketing phrase, they've done it as to help brands deliver personalized and real-time engagement. Now, it was interesting because the article really positioned them as trying to compete against Salesforce's and Acton's AI capabilities. But I've always just viewed them as not in the same wavelength. We're in the same race, really. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Adobe bought Marketo, obviously, to give themselves the marketing automation platform. But then they have all these other platforms that kind of a sort of a bit related to it. And certainly the Adobe announcement, I mean, that's all about automating the generation of images for advertising, which to me feels very marketing automation, even though it's not a marketing automation platform. I guess the question is, firstly, do we think it's a good idea to have automated image generation? And then secondly, I'm really interested to know whether you think people are actually going to use it.
Oh, wow. That's a couple of great questions, Mike. I think for me, it's what is the ease of use in actually using Adobe to generate images using AI? Because I think a lot of people instantly go to things like ChatGPT. They've maybe got the prompts down now. They know it's going to be really helpful. So, what is the benefit of using Adobe actually over something that's more accessible to everybody on a day-to-day basis anyway?
Well, I guess it depends on whether you're actually customizing the images for individual audiences. So, I totally agree. I think a lot of people, when they're generating images, they probably go to ChatGPT. Maybe some of the design teams are using Firefly from Adobe. But I actually think the truth is, and I think this is what you're hinting at, most people don't use these features. I'm pretty sure when I'm on the internet, I'm not getting served customized images. I'm getting served generic images that are served to, huge numbers of people, whether that's B2B or whether that's consumer. I think it's the same. And it's really fascinating because for a long time we moaned in marketing automation that people just use marketing automation systems as an email system rather than really taking advantage of all the capabilities. I think now we're seeing that change, but equally we're seeing all this new technology like dynamic image generation. I'm not sure that's being used yet. I think people are buying it because the demos are cool. And then, gut feel, I'm not seeing a lot of campaigns running using this technology.
I think that's a fantastic point, Mike. And I 100% agree. I think as well, it comes down to, do people actually know how to use these tools? You said it yourself, they buy it, it looks cool. Do they understand how to do this dynamic image creation? Because as well, I've not had anything like that. I'm on all the platforms. I don't have anything personalized to me. As I think the companies that get up to speed first and actually really start to implement, no matter what industry you're in, are really going to be, the leaders in their market.
Obviously, if the technology works. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing. I know that there are designers who probably listen to this who are saying, yeah, you can use AI to customize an image, but if I generate an image, it's going to be more effective because it's going to be a better image. Who knows? I think we're going to have to see what happens as we go forward.
Definitely. Well, let's move on because looking at the time and I want to have a chat about Acton. Now, Acton have actually used my favorite phrase for this week. So we've had several pictures this week. I've written a lot of blogs this week and it's all been about customer journeys. So I saw it and I was like, this speaks to me. I want to talk about it. But really, they spoke about how marketing automation links into the customer journeys. But the real interesting thing about this is that if you look at the Weber and you look at what they're talking about, actually, they're just talking about building funnels.
Yeah, I agree, actually, Hannah. I just want to jump in there. Firstly, you are genuinely the queen of customer journeys. I'm so impressed with what you're doing with building them. And I think the problem is people talk customer journey and then they have very simplistic customer journeys. Acton is basically engage, convert, connect, 3 stages. That's not really describing a customer journey. It's absolutely describing a funnel. And I think, if we're going to be effective, particularly in B2B, where the journeys can be very complex, we've got to go beyond these simplistic, 3, 4, 5 stage journeys and really understand how a customer behaves and what happens throughout that whole buying process. Don't you agree?
Oh, I definitely agree. And I think this is often where marketers go wrong. They don't actually do the job properly and then wonder why their campaigns aren't working.
Yeah, and simplifying stuff is, it's always a terrible thing. I mean, convert is, it's a really difficult thing to get someone from being interested in your product to actually get them to be a customer. And just to call it convert, it trivializes it. And I think it means people, actually don't think about what they need to do to get someone to become a customer. If you build a proper customer journey, it really makes a difference. Now, obviously, even a simplistic customer journey is better than none. So let's be honest, it is a step forward for a lot of people. But for high involvement products, it's really hard to simplify.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, let's move on to our insightful tip of the week. Now, I know you wanted to talk about leveling up our data. So, do you want to have a bit of a chat about that?
Well, exactly. I mean, I think it's something, we do quite a lot of at Napier. And we quite often see, companies perhaps not taking advantage of some of the tools that they've got that they can use to really improve the quality and the detail behind their data. And as it's summer, I believe that some people don't spend all the summer watching cricket. So it's a great time to actually, when things are quiet, to think about how we can improve data quality.
Definitely. And I mean, it's something we do internally here. It's something you should be looking at, I would say, more than once a year, at least once a quarter if you can. But take advantage of those summer months and do the work on your database so that when you are ramping back up for the autumn, you've really got a higher chance of being more successful.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing some projects for clients at the moment, and the work ranges from, literally looking at where they've got data that's bouncing. So people have left, get rid of those people who've gone away from a company. Honestly, if someone's left a company, there is really little value in holding their personal data. And if you're in the EU or other areas with data protection legislation, that could actually ultimately land you in hot water if you're holding old and out of date information. But it's much more than that. It's about adding to the data you have. There's lots of ways to enrich the existing contact data through databases, and it's super cheap. I don't understand why people don't do it more, because it really doesn't cost very much. And then finally, of course, the important thing, and I think this is where marketers have the biggest opportunity, is growing the contact base in key targets. So it's acquiring more contact names. And all of those things, if you add them together, they can make your marketing automation campaigns after the summer so much more effective.
Well, I don't think I could have summed it up any better myself, Mike. Thank you so much for another amazing conversation today. It was really insightful as always.
Thanks, Hannah. It was fun as always. Great to talk to you.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Automation Moment podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe in your favourite podcast application, and we'll see you next time.